Well, today the Department of Justice released 3 million documents, 3 million pages of documents in the latest Epstein drop, as well as more than 2,000 videos, 180,000 images. And some of the information in this drop was pretty darn damning against the president, Donald Trump. So damning, in fact, that the DOJ released the documents that had all of these accusations against Donald Trump. Very, very horrific accusations, really horrific accusations. But just accusations. Because was anybody investigating any of these things? No, probably not. So everything remained an accusation, and everybody has plausible deniability in the end, right? That's how they did it. That's how this whole scandal was covered up. One of the ways. They were so damning that the DOJ actually removed the pages after the fact. But we have them. They're not going to be able to get around it. People still have them. This is what we saw later on in this afternoon, was this page not found when trying to access the documents. Previously, the documents were there. One thing that was also very strange about this was the link to see all of these files for the DOJ did require you to verify that you were over the age of 18. So they ask, are you a robot? And then the next question is, are you over the age of 18? They normally don't do that. So that was an extra layer that they put on here. They had 6 million documents. Now, what happened to the other 3 million? They're claiming they're duplicates. Okay, I still want to see the duplicates, because a duplicate's a duplicate unless it's not quite a duplicate, right? Maybe you're just erasing a line. You think we won't notice it, but that line is worth noticing. So there are 3 million more pages that are yet to be released. They're claiming, though, the DOJ is saying, no, we've released everything. We're done. We've now fulfilled our obligation. And Ro Khanna and others are saying, no, you haven't. You need to release the rest of the files. And they're claiming they don't have anything else to release. So what we have is what we have. But let me just show you the documents that they deleted, because we have them. Now, be forewarned, I'm going to read some of these to you, and they are not good. This is not good. Some of the things that are the accusations in here. One accusation reported an unidentified female friend who was forced to perform oral sex on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred, and the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing oral sex. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting President Trump. The friend said she was also abused by Epstein. And the response, so these are complaints, and then in the next column is response, and then criminal history is on the right-hand side. Now, they've redacted all the criminal history. I'm not sure who's the criminal history. Who are they talking about? The criminal history of the perpetrator or the victim? Unclear. The response to that was, spoke with caller who identified. Lead was sent to Washington office to conduct interview. Okay, but what happened with that? We don't know. Here's another one. At age 16, while modeling, caller attended 8 parties at Epstein's New York residence. On one occasion, caller reported that she was sexually assaulted by Epstein. On another occasion, 2 twin brothers, Alan and Orrin, lured caller and her friend upstairs, but they escaped back downstairs. Caller stated Orrin raped her best friend, and a third brother, Tal, raped a 14-year-old girl named Redacted. Caller named other individuals involved, big orgy parties with her, other young girls, and older Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. Online complaint reported she was a victim and witness to a sex trafficking ring at the Trump golf course in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, between 1995 and 1996. Complainant reported Ghislaine Maxwell as the madam and broker for sex parties, clients of whom included Epstein, Robin Leach, and Donald Trump. Complainant reported participating in orgies and that some girls went missing, rumored to have been murdered and buried at the facility. Complainant reported being threatened by Trump's then head of security, that if she ever talked about what went on there or who she saw, she would end up as fertilizer for the back 9 holes like the other cunts. Complainant claims to have video of high-profile sex parties, dealings with cartels, and having witnessed Robin Leach strangle a young girl to death at a party. That's a name I haven't heard in these Epstein files before. Maybe you have, but I haven't heard Robin Leach named. Here's another one. Sorry, these are very graphic and terrible, but this is what the DOJ released and then deleted. Complainant reported his ex-girlfriends, redacted, were victims of Epstein's, and one was murdered. While working as a limousine driver, complainant recalled picking up Donald Trump in 1995 to take him to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. During that ride, complainant recalled some of the things Trump spoke about on his cell phone were very concerning and described being a few seconds from pulling the limousine over on the median and within a few seconds of pulling him out of the car and hurting him due to some of the things he was saying. Complainant noted Trump repeatedly stated the name Jeffrey while on the phone. One complainant's ex-girlfriend, redacted, told complainant Trump raped her, as did Epstein. Caller is talking about crimes committed against... So here's another one. They said also, by the way, voicemail left, no response. Caller is talking about crimes committed against her. She claims to be a prisoner. She references Lisa Marie Presley, the British royal family, President Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that all would sound like a conspiracy theory. If somebody called up, there's like a sex trafficking thing going on. It involves the British royal family and Lisa Marie Presley and President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. People would be like, wow, you are off. You're a rocker. Fast forward, now we got all the, there's Prince Andrew. Now, we got all these photos and whatnot. And it's kind of like all these things that people were claiming are starting to look a little bit more, verifiable. I'll read you a couple more. Complainant followed up after a call with New York PD officer regarding her previous tip, reporting that she was forced to perform sex acts when she was 13 years old and pregnant in 1984. Complainant also reported there were high-profile individuals involved in her sex trafficking and the murder and disposal of her newborn daughter. Complainant reported Donald Trump participated regularly in paying money to force her to perform sex acts with him and alleged Trump was present when her uncle murdered her newborn child. Here's another one. Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring the children in and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's vaginas by entering a finger and rated the children. And the guests were elder men and included Elon Musk, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump were there. Attorney Alan Dershowitz was also there with attorney Bob Shapiro. We were taken in rooms, forced to give oral sex to Donald Trump, forced to allow them to penetrate us. I was 13 years old. When Donald Trump raped me, Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. All right, here's another one. In 2004 to 2005, Sir Ivan Wiltzig hosted a party where Jeffrey Epstein, Sammy Sosa, and Donald Trump were in attendance. Patti LaBelle's PR agent stood at the door. At the party, caller met an individual who was approximately 18 to 23 years of age who was brought from Oklahoma for a modeling job, but then sold to a man in France. Several women were being auctioned, and a woman possibly known as Colette LNU was the madam. A couple of years later, caller saw Colette at the Cheetah Club in New York, and she told one of Santos' friends that Jamie Foxx was interested in spending a night with her and that he could pay her a lot of money. These just don't sound made up. They just don't really sound made up. Okay, one more. Caller reported that in 1987, a friend, Victim 1, was out drinking and ended up at Trump Plaza. Victim 1 saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. The unknown man gave Victim 1 a drink, and Victim 1 woke up naked and sore with $300 on the bed. Victim 1 didn't remember how she got to the room. She remembered seeing a flash of Trump's face. Victim 1 called the caller and told her she thought she had been raped. Victim 1 did not go to a hospital to have a rape kit performed because she didn't think anyone would believe her, especially because she was drunk. Victim 1's husband's business had problems with suppliers, and Victim 1 believed Trump was behind it. Victim 1 also started dating a lawyer, identifiers unknown, who was married. Victim 1 had a fight with her lawyer boyfriend and went to a bar. Victim 1 left a bar with a man who no one in the bar recognized, but who seemed familiar with Victim 1. Victim 1 was never seen again. A few years ago, remains were discovered that matched the description of what Victim 1 was wearing when she went missing. DNA tests at the time were inconclusive. Yeah, this is why the DOJ deleted these after they released them. So very disturbing, very, very disturbing files. But what will be done about this? Probably nothing. In fact, this is what the Department of Justice, this is Todd Blanche with the Department of Justice. This is what he had to say about men. He's like, men? What men?
So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's.
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to prosecute. That is not the case. I don't know whether there are men out there that abuse these women. If we learn about information and evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But I don't think that the public or you all are going to uncover men within the Epstein files that abuse women, unfortunately.
Yeah, because we redacted it all, right? Because these women apparently abused themselves. What men? Men? What men are you talking about? Right. Because the women abused themselves. That's apparently, that's it. They were only trafficked to Jeffrey Epstein. That's what they're wanting, right? The elites are wanting to just, oh no, this was just Ghislaine Maxwell was trafficking girls to Jeffrey Epstein and that was it. Nothing else to see here. What men? Man, what men? Ro Khanna has this to say, says, no, all the files are not released, and you do have the names of the men. You're just not releasing them.
Well, the survivors just want a transparent release. If Blanche believes that there is no cover-up, then he should release the 302 files. The 302 files are where the survivors name who these rich and powerful men are. I've talked to the survivors. They say that they have named those people in the FBI witness interviews. So if those witness interviews are released, the American people can see for themselves who the survivors named and can come to their own judgment of their guilt. But if Blanche continues to not release the 302 statements, to not release the prosecution memos, then it's a cover-up. And so it's not the quantity of documents, and no one is asking him to name exactly who all is in the files. We're just asking him to release the survivor witness interviews.
Yeah, that's it. Just release the files. That's what everybody keeps asking for. But instead, they're playing games with us and covering things up and then deleting things and then saying, oh, we give you men, what men, and we gave you everything. And there's nothing else to see here. I mean, it's just, they just think we're so unbelievably stupid. Another person who thinks, unfortunately, I mean, every person is going to cover up for themselves if they're in the Epstein files, right? Anybody and everybody's going to say, what? I'm not in the files, not me. And if I was, you're misinterpreting it as what it is. And Elon Musk had said that. You know, he had said, this was, how long ago was this, where he said, shame on Sky, this was September 27th. So just a few months back, he says, shame on Sky News for this utterly misleading headline. Anyone pushing this false narrative deserves complete contempt. Epstein tried to get me to go to his island, and I refused. Yet they named me even before Prince Andrew, who did visit. So this is after one of the tranches of documents came out. Elon Musk, you know, people said, well, Elon maybe is in these files. His name is appearing. And he's like, that's just really unbelievable, terrible reporting of you. Fake news, fake news, fake news. Well, unfortunately, Elon, you're in the files again. And this time, I don't think you can actually claim that you were denying, you know, you were rejecting, refusing to go to the island. This is an email chain from December of 2013. Here's from Elon Musk to Jeffrey Epstein, Friday, December 13th. 2023 at 11:35 p.m. Elon Musk says, we'll be in the BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays. Is there a good time to visit? Talking about Pedo Island. He's saying he's going to be in the British Virgin Islands, St. Bart's area. Jeffrey says, Any day, 1st through 8th. Play it by ear if you want. Always space for you. He sends that on Sunday, December 15th. Elon writes back, okay, probably the 1st then. So like the very first day that Epstein offers, he's like the 1st through the 8th. Elon's like, then the 1st. Can't wait. Just got to go the first day you allow me. Then Christmas Day. So that's from Elon to Jeffrey saying, okay, probably the 1st. Then Christmas Day, Jeffrey writes to Elon and says, the 2nd or 3rd would be perfect. I'll come and get you. And Elon on Christmas says, I need to fly back to LA on the night of the 2nd. So, and then it got cut off. And he wrote back again saying, actually, I could fly back early on the 3rd. We will be in St. Bart's. When should we head to your island on the 2nd? And Leslie Groff, who apparently is helping coordinate these people coming and going, says on December 27th, did we need to organize Elon to your island on January 2nd? So basically saying, do we need to go get him? Or, maybe Elon's got his own chopper or plane or whatever, however Elon gets around, right? I would imagine he's got his own mode of transportation. Most people don't need to hitch a ride. So what's that about? That's not you refusing to go to the island. That's you asking to go to the island. That's you, in fact, asking to go the first day that Jeffrey says you could maybe go. That's you asking multiple times over the course of a few weeks. So nothing is as it seems. I mean, that's the big takeaway from this is we're just being lied to by everybody. And anybody and everybody's going to cover it up until they realize, oh shit, I've ended up in the files. I can't cover it up anymore. Then what? Then they come up with some other gaslighting reason or excuse. And the other big thing the big takeaway is that we then have to find out that, oh, what men? Like as if these women, they just literally abuse themselves. All of this is fake news. I mean, this is just unbelievably bad. And, one of the accusations in these documents named Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka, Eric, named Donald Trump's children. So they were naming Donald Trump. So, and this is the accusation that a lot of the survivors have said, well, Donald Trump did nothing wrong. But you've got others that are saying, well, actually he did, several other people saying, yes, he did. That could be politically motivated, of course. But if they're also naming his family members, I mean, we just don't know why Trump is so guarded on these files. Is it because and what he told Marjorie Taylor Greene was, well, my friends would be hurt, or people that he cares about would be hurt. Well, who are these people? And why are you covering up for them? And I would only think that it's somebody very close to him, somebody he really doesn't want to see hurt. I don't know. Maybe one of his sons. I mean, I think a lot of fathers would cover up for their sons. I mean, I don't know. It's all speculation, but it's all just very bizarre. And this is one of the biggest scandals with all these powerful people doing these very awful things that were clearly being done as a mode for blackmail so that everything in this country's foreign policy, all of our tax dollars, everything, murders of children, raids of countries, bombing of nations, all of that being done because these sickos couldn't contain themselves. And that is, that's what we want to know. It's not just about the abuse of the girls. It's the abuse of a country, the abuse of an entire people, and the murder of many, many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people at the hands of America's foreign policy. Release the damn files. Give us those files. We want them all. We want the 302 files, like Ro Khanna says. Release the damn files.